this is Lisa Jahn-Clough. I'm going to read you another story from my short story collection called The Kids of CattyWumpus Street. I've read you a couple stories already, and this is going to be the fourth story. And if you haven't heard the others, you can listen to them. But I should let you know that Cattywampus Street is a very long and twisty street in the middle of nowhere, and along the street live 11 kids in either a little house or an apartment building. There's a park there, and there's a toy store and a zoo and a bunch of other things. The 11 kids that live there are Jamal, Linda Lee, Hans, Evelyn, Charlotta, Rodney, Mateo, Amira, Emmett, Bob, and Ursula. This is story number 4, The Happily Ever After House. If you heard the last story, it was very, very, very sad. So this one is to make up for that. This is the story of Charlotta. Charlotta had 5 dolls: a mommy doll, a daddy doll, a girl doll, a boy doll, and a baby doll. Oh yes, and she had a dog doll too. So that makes 6. The dolls were made of wood, and they were so well loved and so well played with that their painted faces were faded and strands of their yarn hair were missing. The dog's yarn fur was almost completely gone. Their clothes were made of tiny pieces of rags. The dog, of course, didn't have any clothes. That would be silly. But he had a tiny faded blue ribbon for a collar. The doll family all lived in a shoebox next to Charlotta's bed. She didn't have enough money to buy a real dollhouse. All right, so far this may seem sad, but the story's not over yet, so just wait. Every day after school, Charlotta walked down Cattywampus Street to the Wattleby toy store and stared at the big dollhouse in the window. My dolls would love that house, she thought. One day, Charlotta packed up her dolls in their shoebox and carried them to the toy store. In front of the window, she lifted the lid of the shoebox just enough for her dolls to see the big, beautiful house. Charlotta wasn't entirely sure, but she was pretty sure that she heard her dolls gasp with delight. How beautiful the house was. So many rooms. There was a master bedroom for the parents with a 4-poster bed, a bedroom for the boy and the girl with a bunk bed, a nursery for the baby with a rocking crib. There was even a special dog room with the fluffy, soft dog bed. And there were all kinds of extra rooms for guests to come and stay whenever they wanted. The living room had a fireplace with a mantel and candlesticks. There was a tiny piano with real keys that could be played. And in the kitchen there was a table. And on the table was a yummy doll cake. Charlotta thought it looked like chocolate, her favorite. Someday I am going to buy this house for you, Charlotta told her dolls. Charlotta saved and saved and saved every penny she could. She did chores for the neighbors. She searched for change on the sidewalk and in the park, just in case. But the dollhouse cost a lot of money, and it was going to take Charlotta a long, long time to get that much. She visited the dollhouse every day, then hurried home to tell her dolls it was still there. But one day, Charlotta went to see the dollhouse, and it was gone. She opened the door of the Wattleby toy store, and the bell went jing-a-ling-ling. She went up to the shopkeeper and asked where the dollhouse was. "What dollhouse? I don't know what you're talking about," the shopkeeper grumbled. She was a grumpy shopkeeper. "There was a big, beautiful dollhouse in the window," cried Charlotta. "Well, it's gone now," said the shopkeeper. There was nothing Charlotta could do but go home and break this bad news to her dolls. Does this story still seem sad? Well, it's not anymore, because when Charlotta got to her room, instead of the shoebox, guess what she found? Yeah, the very dollhouse from the toy store. Her dolls were in it already, sitting in the living room in little comfy armchairs and having a tea party. The dog was snuggled in the fluffy dog bed by the fireplace. How did the dollhouse get there? Could Charlotta's parents have snuck out and bought it when Charlotta was sleeping? Could it have gotten there by magic? Well, however it got there, there it was, and the dolls had moved right in. They must like it, Charlotta thought, and they did. They liked it a lot. As Charlotta watched, the daddy doll started playing the piano, and the other dolls began dancing. The dog doll wagged its tail and jumped about. Charlotta wanted so badly to join them. She especially wanted a bite of the yummy doll cake that was on the table in the kitchen. She wanted to know if it was indeed chocolate. You see, I didn't tell you this, but you may have figured it out. Charlotta's own house was pretty drab and small and bare. She had to share a room with her little brother, Chadwick, and her baby sister, Charlena. Her grandparents slept in the other bedroom, and her parents slept on a fold-out bed in the living room. Her family could not afford comfy armchairs, let alone a piano. They usually had cabbage for supper and never, ever had chocolate cake. Are you sad again? Please just keep reading, or listening in this case, because the best part is still coming, I promise you. Just then, Charlotta's brother and sister wailed from the living room, and her mother yelled at them to settle down, and then her grandfather grumbled loudly from his bedroom. Charlotta covered her ears, squeezed her eyes shut, and took a deep breath. Slowly, she reached out her left hand, and she put it in the dollhouse. When Charlotta opened her eyes, her hand had gotten smaller. Her baby sister gave another wail from the living room, and Charlotte put in her entire left arm, and believe it or not, her entire arm got smaller. She put in her right hand and her right arm, her left foot, then her right foot. She got so small that she could squeeze her whole self right into the dollhouse. Now all of Charlotta was inside the house. She had shrunk enough so that she fit perfectly. "Hello," she said to the doll family. "Hello," the doll family said. "Wah, wah," said the doll baby. "Woof, woof," said the doll dog. Charlotta gave it a pat. "We're so happy you're here," said the doll daddy. "We've been waiting for you," said the doll mommy. Play with us," said the doll girl and the doll boy. Charlotta played with the dolls all day. They had the most wonderful time. When they were done, the doll mommy and the doll daddy said, "Now we have a surprise for you." Can you guess what the surprise was? They brought out the yummy doll cake and put little doll candles on it, even though it wasn't even Charlotta's birthday. "This is to thank you for buying us this beautiful house," the doll daddy said. "But I didn't," Charlotta explained. "I don't even know how it got here." "Don't you see," said the doll mommy. "You wished for it, and here it is. Just like you wished to come play with us, and you did," said the doll boy and the doll girl. "You must be very magic." The doll baby said, "Wah, wah, magic," and the doll dog said, "Woof, woof, magic." Charlotta wasn't sure if it was magic, but of course, here it was. Inside the dollhouse, she had shrunk. Whether Charlotta was magic or not, she was very happy. The dolls served up the doll cake, and do you know what kind of cake it was? It was chocolate, and it was yummy indeed. And that's the happily ever after ending of this happy story. But wait, not quite. It gets even better. Remember how Charlotta's own house was small, and she had to share a room with her little brother and baby sister, and her grandparents slept in the other room, and her parents could only afford cabbage for supper? Well, Charlotta squeezed her eyes really tight and wished really hard. And when she opened her eyes, there were her parents, her grandparents, her little brother, and her baby sister, all inside the dollhouse. So Charlotta and her family all lived together with the doll family in the big, beautiful dollhouse. There was plenty of room for all, and plenty of cake too. And that is how Charlotta really, truly lived happily ever